Hi everyone. So today I'm going to use the 5 Series MSO or mixed signal oscilloscope from Tektronix, and I'm going to use it to capture audio tones that we generate using a Yamaha PSR-300M digital piano. And we're going to capture those, analyze the waveform in both the time and frequency domain, and also play back that same waveform, and we're going to play it out through the function generator, which is a part of the same instrument, through the Philips speaker here in the back. So let's go ahead. I'm going to capture something relatively simple here. I'm going to go in and capture just middle C. So that's this waveform here. You can hear that's a relatively clean tone, so we would expect a really clean sine wave on the scope. Again, that's one of the cleaner tones I was able to find on the piano. And we're going to capture it. You can see here I've taken a TRS cable, stripped away the metal casing, and then I'm probing onto it using a TPP 1000 single-ended passive 1 gigahertz probe that comes with the 5 Series scope. I'll plug that in the phono jack here. And okay, so let's do a single acquisition. I'll hit middle C here. So a couple things to notice over here on the scope. So you've got the time domain on the bottom half and the frequency domain the top half. So in the time domain, we can see one of the first things to notice is the amplitude. The amplitude of this signal drifts off pretty rapidly. And that's because you could see when I hit the key, it was kind of a strike, just a single hit, and then I let off of it. So as we would expect, the amplitude decays very rapidly within this waveform. If I, for instance, do another acquisition and instead hold the key down, you'll see that the amplitude in this case is a lot stronger. I think I hit the key a little bit harder, and you can see the amplitude actually holds steady at about it's about 600 millivolts peak to peak. So that's kind of what we would expect there. And then let's zoom in on that time domain for a minute. You can see, as we would expect, again, it's a pretty clean sine wave. There's a little bit of high frequency content kind of sprinkled throughout, but overall kind of one of the cleaner sine waves you would expect from a digital piano. And then in the frequency domain here, you can see, again, as we would expect with a sine wave, there's a single frequency peak for the fundamental frequency of middle C, which is 261 hertz. So all of that is as expected. So then if we play this waveform out using the arbitrary function generator, which I can tap and open here, you'll see that I've selected my waveform type as arbitrary. I've preloaded that same 261 hertz middle C waveform. And the way I'm going to do this is I've got a BNC cable from the function generator output, and I've got a 3.5 millimeter jack here in the back that I plug in to my speaker. And I'll turn that waveform on. And sure enough, we can hear that waveform being played out of the speaker. You'll kind of hear that loop over and over again. Let me turn that off for a second. That's kind of what we would expect as well, because the scope where I captured the waveform, I captured it using a 400 millisecond acquisition time. So that acquisition time is going to play over and over again about half a second or so, and it's going to just repeat over and over again. So the other interesting thing that I can do with the piano and with the 5 Series scope is capture two different tones stacked on top of each other. So in this case, I'm going to play middle C and the upper E, and stacking those together, you get this chord here. And let's see what that looks like on the scope. So I'll plug in my jack here, do a single acquisition on the scope, play those two waveforms. And sure enough, a couple things. So let's look at the time domain for a second. So you can see there's a little bit of modulation included there now. And in the frequency domain, now we're seeing two different spikes. So we see one peak at 261 Hertz, middle C, and the second peak over here at about, let's say, 330, yeah, about 330 Hertz. So that's the E right above middle C. So all of that is exactly as we would expect. And so again, you know, this is just a very simple to do kind of tutorial, but this is showing the power of the 5 series scope to be able to capture, analyze, and also playback audio tones in a very simple, easy setup. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.